Welcome to Answer Everywhere. We're taking a look at some source code, like we always do. We're taking a look at the Battle for Wesnoth, which is a video game with fantasy and stuff. A turn-based RPG, if I understand correctly. I've heard of it before. I've never played it. I thought it would be good to look at something a little bit, I don't know, whimsical, in honor of the upcoming Halloween season. I was originally looking for something with like vampires or demons, but then I saw Wesnoth and I thought, I've heard about this. People seem to like it. So let's do this one instead. I don't think that there are any vampires, but if there are, we will treat that as a bonus. And I think I've just said, I've never played it, so I don't, among other things, I don't know really what it looks and feels like. We'll try to infer some of that from the code, and then we can also pull up pictures and stuff. It's relatively old. I feel like this has been around for a while. I don't know if there's an easy way to find the earliest release in the code base. 2003. So not positively ancient, but old and respectable. And it looks like this. I'm guessing these are hexagonal tiles. Hey, come on. Come on now. I don't know why they look hexagony to me. Almost circular. And you've got some sort of units. We did look at what's it called? Like maybe it was FreeCiv, one of the open source civilization clones. It looks a little bit civilization-y, I think. Let's see if we can find out. Yeah, this looks like maybe like a more updated version. So hopefully it won't be too much of the same in terms of code. The theming is different. We've got this guy who's not a vampire, but he does seem to be some sort of demon skeleton king. And there's going to be strategy. I don't know like what level of units you control, but we'll see some of this. There might be some of the classic like pathfinding script. We have Lua and C++, and I'm guessing Lua is mainly for scripting most of the game. The game thingies. Lua is used a lot as an embedded scripting language. The good thing about this repo is it's 2.1% Emacs Lisp, which I was not expecting. So that's a bonus. I don't know if we'll see much of the Emacs Lisp. I'm guessing that's mainly editor config. So jumping into the code, we see PO, which is what's the word? Internationalization, I believe. And images and fonts. I don't know if fonts are especially interesting in a fantasy setting, but they may be. You see Deja Vu Sans. That's not so fascinating. I don't know what Lotto is. Oldania. I don't know what happens if we view a font file. It's just ones and zeros. No, we get the quick brown lazy fox thing, whatever this preview program is. So this is kind of like a what's the word? Kind of like an old-timey font for writing the old shop in your that sort of thing. Here's West script. I don't know if this is a custom font. This looks similar to the other one. Okay, so that's fonts. Good. And then images, we have the gaming assets, including arrows, buttons, cursors. Actually, these may not be gaming. These may be like, maybe more like game engine. I was thinking arrows was like the arrows that you shoot, but these must be like pointers. So here's an arrow pointing to something. To what? I don't know, but some sort of thing. And southwest. This is maybe a map that goes to the south and the west. North to, and must be north to southwest. That's for arrows / focus. What about arrows standard? End southeast. I don't know what the end is. Maybe the end is just the boundary. And then this is some other thing. Northeast here. Ending. Maybe that means maybe ending means like is supposed to terminate or something. And then it ends in northwest. Okay. And they are composed somehow. And then dialogues, we have dialogues, I assume. Here's a border for the dialogue. I guess you just build them up. Strong translucent border left. Okay, cool. And then we have buttons and stuff, right? So those are, so footsteps. I guess these are footsteps. And you can just make a path out of them. Foot, medium, out, in. And maybe they go in different directions. Is there a southeast? Yeah, okay. So you can compose these up. If you have a trail that the footsteps are supposed to go in, you can figure out which cardinal direction they're supposed to be, and you can use those to make some sort of trail. Tools and whiteboard. I'm guessing whiteboard is something you can just write on. Editor is maybe the text editor. I don't know why I'm clicking on so many images. I'm a little bit curious. This is what? The magenta team color palette. Okay. It says tools. Maybe it's like a developer tool. In the whiteboard, here's an attack indicator. Maybe this is for drawing out a strategy. Let's look this up. Wesnoth whiteboard. Nothing seems to be really showing to mind. I mean, nothing seems to be obviously related to whiteboards. So that was images, and we saw fonts, and we're going to ignore doc. CMake must be build stuff. Attic might be just like things they think they probably don't need. Maps and spare buttons in swamp. This directory contains old art and resources not currently used anywhere in the game. It should not ship with the distribution tarball. Okay, I don't know why they keep them. They do have source control. Okay, I don't know what a scans is, but we also have sounds, which I don't think are going to play. I don't think the sound from from this VM is wired up to play audio on the stream. And that leaves us with source. We're going to have to actually look at the code. But where is I want the current images that are not like maps and stuff. Can I get those? And if so, what directory are they in? Here's project files. I thought it said projectiles. I don't care so much about project files. Sounds, they have like things like arrive, bell, chat. And there's a mix of OGG and WAV files. Join, leave, etc. The C++ UI, but not WML. WML is, I'm not sure. Web markup language? I don't think it's WASM. I don't know. Oh, we do have data. Maybe everything is in data, including campaigns, core, GUI, hardwired. Okay, so this is promising. We'll look at GUI. AI, I'm going to guess, is things like pathfinding, as opposed to LLMs. Languages, internal. I don't know about internal. Did we open hardwired? I mean, we may as well just look at it. Modifications. Multiplayer, schema, test, themes, tools. And then we have an english.config. The languages. Language. I don't know why this is under language. I guess this is like maybe an internationalization. But for example, easy is set to the string easy. Normal is set to medium, etc. Hello. Hello, Evan Rosman. Hey, Hey folks, how's it going? And how is October treating you? Okay. And then that is the end of language. But then we go to naming. Default name of terrain features. And I'm not really sure what the syntax is, but we have a bridge or a crossing. It says base, bridge type, or base, exclamation mark. Somebody's bridge type, I guess. Like so-and-so's crossing, maybe. And so on. A river name generator. Generator for riverside village labels in random maps. And it's got a link to this context-free grammar thing. And we've got a prefix, a river, and a suffix. And a main, which is prefix and suffix. So the suffix is ham, o. Where did ham go? Ham ford or cross on river. So this would be, I don't know really what this prefix is doing, but this would generate something furred based on like the river or something cross, I think. And then similarly here's a mountain, something ham, something bury, ton, mont, etc. Okay, so they have some way of generating these. I'm not really sure what the syntax is or what the CFG language is. If that's something they made up themselves as like a custom config, or if it's an existing standard or something. That's the source. We'll get to the source in a little bit. The GUI doesn't look so important, although there are themes like default and Celes. Here's a default button. It's again just a config file. It looks like Toml, but it has ending things. Okay, so this is AI. I think we decided that themes are not important. Campaigns, we have Dead Water. So these are different campaigns in the sense of like these are like scripted things you can play, maybe like a D&D campaign. And then internal, we have Rogue Mage, Urban Jungle, Weather. What is Rogue Mage? We have some config. The config will maybe tell us the like semantics of things. Well, not much. Images, attacks. Here's like images associated with the attack. It's some like square tile of a Meiji explosion. And I guess maybe the thing starts at the bottom of the sword. Or no, these are just two different maybe versions of the same images. Okay, so the mage can do something with a purple sword explosion. And then we have units. Arcane Enforcer plus female melee. Arcane Enforcer, melee. Okay, so this is some just image of the mage. And these are just, this is all seems to be art. Okay, I don't know what the internal is for. Maybe they haven't added the mage yet, or maybe they have. And then here's Lua for scripting. WML require WML utils. I still don't know what WML means. But we have WML actions with if in brackets. We can't create functions with names that are Lua keywords. For example, if, while, instead. Sorry, if and while. Instead, we store the following anonymous functions directly into the table, allowing the bracket operator, using the bracket operator rather than using the point syntax. Okay, so this is just for making scripting easier, I guess. Here's stun. So function Wesnoth interface game display unit status, get displayed unit, and that's going to be U. I'm assuming local is like a local variable in Lua. So if we don't have a unit, then we're going to return an empty something. I don't know if that's a dictionary or what in Lua. And If we haven't returned, then we get the old unit status. And if they are stunned, then into some table. I'm assuming table is like a hash table. Then we will, maybe it is markup language. We've got a tag and an element. The stunned status icon PNG. This unit is stunned. It cannot enforce its zone of control. What flavor of Linux am I using? I think I'm using Linux Mint, but I'm honestly not sure. I'm like 90% sure it's Linux Mint. So let's see if they have a thing for WML. I'm guessing it's basically HTML. The Wesnoth markup language. The Wesnoth markup language is used to code almost everything in Wesnoth, including scenarios, units, save files, and the user interface layout. They are simple, human-readable text files, usually with a CFG extension with similarities to INI files and XML. They really did, I guess, roll their own markup language. A major feature are macros, which are like those found in the C language, and similarly are handled by a preprocessor. Okay, so this is basically templating. They're going to pre-process the files and otherwise treat them as like as INI style files. I think that's what they're doing, but I'm not 100% positive, and I'm not going to go all the way deep into the layer. Multiplayer has things like factions. And these are config files. Loyalists. Let's look up loyalists. Loyalist sounds a little bit ominous to me somehow. Okay, so it's a multiplayer side. The ID is loyalists. The name is the string loyalist with an underscore. And it has some image. The default image is the lieutenant. And the leader is the lieutenant, swordsman, pikesman. I guess these are all different kinds of leaders. I don't know how they rank. And then there's a random leader. This seems to be the same list. So I assume this is the set from which a random leader can be selected. And then recruits. These are basically the lower level fighters. The cannon fodder, I guess. And then they like some certain terrain, including whatever GG, WW, and WO is. And they have some description, which this looks like HTML. They are loyal to the throne of Wesnoth. Humans are a versatile race who specialize in something something. I'm not going to scroll horizontally. And then we have two brothers. How about two brothers? Should we look at the images? Here's Baron and Arvinth. Oh. This is much more detailed than I thought. This must be like a hero sort of image for like a big like pop-up or something. Because you couldn't really see that level of detail on the small map. And whatever this is some map. I mean, it looks good. I wouldn't know how to make a map like this in Photoshop? I don't know what program you even make maps like that in. Okay, so that's cool. I don't know how the campaigns go though. So scenarios, we have different scenarios, numbers. These must happen in order. So there's some invasion, you do a fight. There's a wolf coast. I don't know what wolf coast is, but then you maybe meet some slavers. You probably don't become slavers. And maybe they take you to Trigaz or something. Tirgaz. Let's look at invasion. I think the key to this scenario is control the villages. You get a bunch of free citizens, so send them all directions and take as many villages as possible right away. Okay, so you're taking the villages. So you are invading, I guess. So scenario, the name is underscore. Whatever name takes some first argument that so far is mainly seems to be thrown away, at least in English. Maybe this is for localization. But invasion. And it has some map file. And then a story has multiple parts. And this has the opening and closing tag structure. and whatever DW big map is that, but it's in some curly braces. So I'm guessing this is like the preprocessor. In the far north, where the foothills of the Heart Mountains approach the coast, lies a bay. I read that almost as baby, with a narrow mouth. In the calm waters display, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so stinging their wounds. So some people are hurt, I guess. Heavy losses. All right, so there's some battle. All right, so these are different parts of the story. And then we have sides. Side 1 I assume some templating thing. I don't know what default schedule is. We have some turns 4 with numbers. I don't know how those are, what those mean. Something about taking turns. I don't know what the numbers would be. But here we have 2 sides. I think one is whatever side 1 is. WML lint. Who side 1 is Kai Krellis. Who side 1 is Kai Krellis. Okay, so this is maybe some hint that side 1 is supposed to be Kai Krellis, whoever that is. Then we have this gold 4 thing. And the numbers seem to be higher than these numbers here. I don't know if they're the same sort of thing, but we'll figure out some of that stuff. And then we have another side block with side equals 2. Okay, this is telling us that side 2, I think, is the AI. Controller's AI. User team's name is Undead Forces. The team name is Bad Guys. The color is teal. The type is Dark Sorcerer. And the ID is Malkevik. Okay. And he can recruit. And he's also undead. So that does fit with the Halloween theme. Okay, so we're getting some sense of how this is programmed together. If def easy, then he's going to recruit walking corpses, vampire. Hey, we do get vampires. Hey, look at that. I think that's a cause to celebrate. So if you have some way of celebrating, I would do it now. I don't. I'm just going to drink my coffee. Okay, so if you're uneasy, you're going to get it. The evil guy is like the Night King or whatever. He's going to recruit walking corpses, vampire bats, skeleton archers, and skeletons. Skeleton archers are also the default skeleton in Minecraft. I don't know if there are non-archer skeletons. I guess they can hold swords. All right, if you're in normal, as opposed to easy, like normal difficulty, you get the walking corpses, but they're also going to throw in a soulless. And that's about it. I guess soulless are a little bit harder than vampire bats. And then the recruitment pattern is fighter, fighter, archer, scout. I don't know which ones are scouts. I'm guessing the walking corpse is probably a better fighter than a scout. Skeleton archer is obviously an archer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm assuming that what this means is you're first going to record the first 2 turns in which you can recruit. I don't know if you can always recruit, but maybe you have to roll like a d20 or something. But the first time you're going to get a fighter. The next time he's going to, by you, I mean the bad guy. Next time they're going to get a fighter and then an archer and then a scout. I assume that's what that has to mean. And then this is all under what, a side block? And then we come down here. It's not fair if the enemy leader goes into the mountains where the merfolk can't follow. Even slowly, will have the leader avoid the mountains. So these must be, these are like hard-coded numbers. These numbers must be coordinates in the X and Y plane of the map. And they may be like hexagons if we're using hexagon tiling, which we have not established at all. And then there's also recruit variations, in which you might get a swimmer, like a swimming walking corpse or a swimming soulless. And there might be merman hunters. And then we have units. I don't know if we finished side. Yeah, we're finished side. And then units, we have a merman citizen is the type with a space and no quotes. And then it's on side 1. So I guess this is your side if you're playing the campaign. X and Y are templatized, so maybe they are like random. Or maybe they have some method for calculating them. And again, I'm just assuming that this is templating syntax because it's similar to other templating syntax, but that's just an assumption. And there might be some modifications with traits and trait names. And this seems to be like preprocessor stuff. Define set village zombie pattern with some amounts. And these are going to be filled in, I guess, probably at runtime with templating. And we have put citizen. Event. This is an event. The type of event is pre-start. The music is The King is Dead. Okay. And then there's other musics. We have, I don't know how they decide what order or when to play these 3 music blocks. We have The King is Dead, Vengeful, append yes, and The Legends of the North, append yes. I'm guessing this means we'll play first The King is Dead and then Vengeful, then Legends of the North, and that's what append means. That's just a guess though. And your objective, the name is to defeat the enemy leader. The condition is to win. And this is objectives, plural. And it's basically a list of objective objects, singular. How to lose. How to lose must, I guess, be filled in. And then we have gold carryover. So you get some sort of bonus, and there's a carryover percentage. I don't know what that means. So we're going to put in some citizens. And this looks like, these look like macros. 19-6, intelligence, strong, resilient, etc. So these are like character traits. 19-6, these may be the X and Y coordinates. But again, I don't know. Mermaid Priestess is a unit. She's a loyal hero and resilient. And her name is Silana. And then you can set a village zombie pattern with walking corpses. Okay, this all looks kind of cool. I'm not going to go too deep into this. I did want to see one of these macros. Maybe put citizen. I guess let's see if we can find put citizen in. No, how to lose is what I wanted. Okay, so there's some Emacs config. How to lose is nil. Define how to lose. Objective, death of Kai Krellis. So it seems to be defined in a per campaign way. And this may only exist in the Kai Krellis thing. I don't know. But there's an objective. The condition is lose. And the objective, death of Silana, is the condition is lose. But that's just a description. I don't know if this is parsed in some way so that the game knows that if the character named Kai Krellis dies, then you lose. And then it says turns run out. Okay, I'm not sure. Death of. Let's see if we can find objective. Set objectives. Row.po. I think that should be that's like localization. I don't want any of these PO files. I don't know if I can suppress a language. I also don't think that I want the HPP file. This is not going to help me. What if I look up death of? Death of Baldress, blah, 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 blah. Mors Ragnuni. Okay. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to find what I'm looking for that way. Let's just move along. AI. We have AIs. We have Lua, Dev, Aliases, Map, Maps. scenarios, and utils. We also had an AI directory in the scenario. And these are all CFG files. These are all the like text format. I'm gonna move this aside for a bit. Hey, you stop that. Okay, so in AI default RCA, multiplayer AI, default RCA, blah, 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 main loop, AI move leader to keep, AI move leader to goals, AI CA, etc. Okay, so these are, again, like essentially functions or macros. Here's an AI arena small map. Whoa. I don't know what this is. We have XUs, a WWF Q1. I'm guessing this is what, 26 by something? I don't know how to estimate this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3-ish, 4-ish, 5-ish. It's about 26 by 45. I don't know. This doesn't bring to mind any obvious sizes. At any rate, it seems to be, I'm guessing this is somehow, do I have a calculator? So 40, let's divide by 26. I'm guessing this is close to, is essentially a map. Oh, no, what's 4/3? 1.33. It's close to, I was thinking it was close to 1280, which would give us 10 times 128. I don't think that's what's going on. I think that this is just a rectangle that looks like a map, and that this is somehow giving information to each like tile of the map. And whatever XU is, I don't know, but these have meanings somehow that are consumed, I would guess, by the AI. And in the process of bringing up my terminal, I have rendered, there we go, Firefox like super huge. Okay, so this is something. I'm not really sure how the AI maps work. Here's an AI attack map. Is that what we were just looking at? You can see here that there's some sort of image popping out. Can you? Maybe you can't. But this is like, the XU is like, I assume something like mountains are places where it doesn't want to go. And then the AI seems to want to be over here, whatever CUD is. There's CUD with a C and a K, CUD with a K. In fact, there's 4 CUD. And then it doesn't seem to want to go here. And so this does seem to be a map. Maybe it's just the same map, and these are just ASCII representations of what's in, you could possibly render this as tiles. I don't know, but it's some sort of terrain in like ASCII that's suitable for AIs. Here's AI config composite aspect. Composite aspect, default aspect value, passive leader, shares, keep, no. Okay. What I would like to see is move leader to goals. Let's see if we can find this definition. AI, move leader to goals. Again, in Emacs mode, we have it defined as nil. You're using it here. AI candidate actions. Maybe here, data core. It's just a number, 140,000. Oh, that's a score. Here's a possible definition. It's a candidate action. The ID is move leader to goals. The engine is C++. The name is AI default RCA move leader to goals phase. Okay, so this is giving it the C++ code to call. And I'm guessing that this is some variation on A star, the A star algorithm. Isn't that what everyone uses? Class, move leaders to goal, move leader to goal phase. Extends public candidate action. Move. I clicked on the header. Let's click on the implementation here. Okay. This is default. And I guess we just don't have an implementation. So what we're going to override, move leader to goals phase factory. Okay. Is this what I want? And we're going to pass in this string, which was the string that was also in the Lua. Move leader to keep phase factory. Where's this factory function? This is just a registry. So where's the implementation? It must be somewhere. Did I miss an obvious link somehow? Move leader. So you're passing in an RCA context. Maybe I didn't click on this somehow. Is it a structure? Move leader to keep phase. And then some private variables, including the keep. Okay, so the keep location, the leader location, the best leader, etc. These are all map locations. I'm guessing this is basically X, Y. There's a function to remove the village. This is all in source AI/default. And CA.cpp. What does CA stand for? I'm not sure. Okay. So the phase is going to call candidate action. No, it's just that's just the constructor. Let's see if we can find anything. This looks promising, whatever this is. Move leader, okay. Move leader to keep phase evaluate. Okay, I guess the function that is actually called evaluate. And this is different from move leader to goal, but this will do fine. It's going to go to the keep instead of some other goal. So is keep ignoring header. If keep ignoring header is set to empty string, we're going to return bad score. Otherwise, this seems to be the algorithm. Collect all the leaders in a list, get the suitable keep for each leader, choose the leader with the nearest suitable keep and which still has moves. If the leader can reach this keep in one turn, set move to there. If not, calculate the best move. Use A star search. Okay. And then save move for execution. In fact, this is good enough. I don't think I really need to read the code. Because we've seen a little bit of A star search. I don't know if it's really worth going into it here. Maybe we can take a quick look at it. I mean, this is a pretty clear algorithm. Once you have A star search and you know where you want to go, then you're just going to figure out where you want to go. And they do this by looking at the keeps, seeing if you have turns left and whatnot. Find where the leader can move. So you get the possible moves. This is probably maybe more complicated than in chess, but somewhat similar. You can probably move around you. It may depend on how much damage you've taken, etc. And And then possible moves. It's going to be some subset of moves. We're going to find, I would have thought this included the locations, but we're going to take the possible moves that are returned here and call find on them, passing in the location. And then if there are no moves, we're going to say there's a bad score. And then from pathfinding paths, we're going to get the leader paths. So maybe possible moves returns also paths to that to where you can go. I'm not sure, but somehow the possible move seems to have returned paths that we call leader paths. And then we call suitable keep on get location passing in the leader paths, and that tells us that maps locations to keeps. Oopsie. And we verify that there's a non-null location. And then we call the shortest path calculator. Passing in things like the game board, or not the game board, but game board teams and the current team, and resources, including the game board map. Okay. And then there's this teleport thing. Teleport map, allow teleports. You might get teleport location, etc. And then path find plane route. Path find A star search. So the route, I guess, is maybe like an out parameter because it's just being created empty here. And I'm assuming, it's going to be assigned by calling this. It's not an out parameter, it's just being assigned to. Okay. And then we're calling A star search, whatever 10,000 is doing. And I don't remember where calc is, but we're going to calculate all that stuff. And then we might get a path. I guess we'll look at paths. Class paths. Here's path. Whoa. Stop this. Whatever. What is it? Just anytime I hover over here, can I just remove this? I don't want this. All right. A path is a struct which has some destinations. Object which contains all the possible locations a unit can move to. Okay. Location is not a path, buddy. Oh, with associated best routes to those locations. Okay, fine. Sounds good. I'm on board now. Construct a list of paths for the specified unit. Construct a list of paths. So this is a function. You can pass in the unit the force ignore zocs. I don't know what a zoc is. Whether to allow teleportation. Who is looking? Maybe you need a viewing team to know things like fog of war. How many additional turns, whether you can see everything, which suggests maybe that fog of war is what they're thinking about, but I'm not sure. And then whether to ignore units. And then we have a step, which has a map location from current to previous, and an integer, which is move left. What? I don't know why move. Oh, I'm guessing this is moves that are remaining as opposed to move to the left. And then we have a vector of possible destinations, but that's still not a path. And then we have a vision path, a refinement of paths for use when calculating vision. So these are things you can see, I guess, like not obstructed by mountains and whatever a jamming map is. Maybe a jamming map is things that obstruct your vision. And a jamming path. No, jamming is something. I don't know what it is. And then we have a marked route, a structure which holds a single route and marks for special events. A marked route has a route, some steps, move cost, marks, etc. Okay. And then a mark has some turns number. In Zoc, do capture is false and is invisible. This I'm not so sure about. And then we have a shortest path calculator, which is a struct. And I guess like a constructor. And it's got some units, viewing team, etc. and then a dummy path calculator. And then we have A star search, but this is the header, so we don't have the implementation. The implementation must be in the C++ file. Here's A star search.cpp. Assert source valid. So we're going to assert that the source is valid. You're going to calculate costs starting from 0, I assume. Wait, what are we? Dist is destination. I thought it was distance for a second. Okay, calculating costs to the destination at 0. If it's bigger than stop at, then aborted A star search because start or destination is invalid. Okay. And then you set some counter, increment search counter, but skip the range equivalent to uninitialized. And then we look at teleports. And then we have a PQ. It should just be a priority queue, right? It's a vector that we're using as a priority queue, I think. And then what is the index doing? Index is some function. But I think that's how we get priority queue behavior. And then we're going to do probably, we also have a heap. We're going to do standard A star search. It looks like. All right, and so what is this returning? It should return, I guess, some like list of some path. It returns a plain route. And I don't know where plain route is defined, but it should be basically just like a list of tiles or something. Struct plain route. It holds a single route between location and something and another. It's got steps and move cost. Okay. And there's a map. No, there's a vector of map locations that are steps. So map location is what I was thinking of as tiles. So maybe these aren't. I don't know what shape these tiles are. Maybe this is just essentially square tiles. Map location. Struct map location. Yeah, hexagonal. There we go. Represents a map. Whoa. Represents a location on the map. Although the game is hexagonal, the map is stored as a grid. Each type of terrain is represented by multi-letter terrain code. That must have been the thing that we saw in the AI maps. So a map location has a direction, north, northeast, northeast, yeah, southeast, south, southwest, northwest. I got that wrong. North, northeast, then indeterminate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. What am I getting wrong here? Oh, I was thinking the directions are the edges. So north, northeast, southeast. Okay, so the directions are the vertices. Okay, fair enough. So these are the vertices of the hexagons. They are the directions you can go. And we saw some stuff. We saw with the maps that there are paths. There are like arrows and stuff that have those same directions in them. I don't know if there's a better. I'm not sure how to find the artwork that has those those arrows in it, but maybe a little bit like this. You could imagine these paths are going in the different directions of the hexagons. Like if you start here, I guess this would be southeast, maybe southeast twice, and then you go northeast, and then you go north, etc. Actually, that picture makes it clear how big the hexagons are, because somewhere these seem to be obviously hexagons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Okay. And then the directions, there's a vector of directions, which is all the directions as a, I guess, vector instead of in a enum. Return the direction one would face, having taken some number of A steps clockwise around an undefined center. Okay, so rotate direction. In the direction D, and by default steps is 1. If the direction D is indeterminate, then you say you're indeterminate. And then compensate for the weirdness of the C++ mod operator. The plain formula D plus steps mod 6 works for almost every case, but it returns incorrect results for a counterclockwise rotation on direction north. Instead, for any negative steps, cancel out the sign and scale by the highest possible direction value, namely 5. Okay. That's a useful comment. All right, so that's how the map, so that tells us about the map. They're doing hexagon tiles. They're using A* search, and they're using these like custom config files for defining almost everything. I don't really know how Lua fits in. We did see a little bit of Lua here. How about feeding? Wesnoth game events add. So we have some sense of game events. We haven't really looked at the engine. I think we're not going to, because we're probably about an hour in, right? An hour and 3. I'm going to stop in a few minutes. So we have some event engine. And we're going to add the event die. The feeding event code. First time only is false. Filter. I guess the unit is anything that's not unplaguable. I don't know what it means to be plaguable or unplaguable. And the second unit has the ability of feeding. I'm guessing this means that maybe you call it on a character that can't get the plague. And I don't know which order it is. Does feeding mean you can eat it, or does feeding mean you can eat? That's what I'm not sure, but I assume that's maybe the sort of thing that these things are doing. And then the action is we have a function, and we're going to get the current event context, and we're going to get the 2 units. Oh, we're dying, right? We're going to get the killer. Their x and y coordinates, I guess. I don't know what x2 and y2 are, as opposed to x1 and y1. And then there's a killer config. We're going to look at the killer and get their config. And we're going to iterate over key pairs. For IV and I pairs of the children of the killer modifications, if the v tag is object, so if there's some if the value is some kind of object and the feeding is set to true, I guess, on the object, then the local is just like a variable binding, I think. So the effect, stop this. We're going to call getChild on the effect. We're going to add 1 to increase total. Why, I don't know. We're going to get the max hit points plus 1. And we're going to also add 1 to the hit points. And then we're going to something about putting it on the map. We're going to call toMap on the uKiller config, passing in false, whatever that means. And we've got float labels saying that indicating that we have max HP. And wherever this is like at the end of, I don't know, maybe X, Y. I don't think there's a Z. Something here is maxed out. I guess that's HP that's maxed out, assuming 255 is the max. Reaching this point means that the unit didn't have the feeding object yet. In the uKiller add modification object, feeding is true. Yeah, I have no idea what this is doing. Feeding. To add for feeding instead of add repeating. Why is the name die? Maybe feeding type ability. It seems that feeding is a bit of a hack. I couldn't get myself working. Take a look at pickpocket abilities. Pickpocket. All right, let's look at the documentation for feeding. Maybe it's died because the object is consumed. Is there feeding? It doesn't seem to be here. Let's try Google. Feeding type ability. This is the same thing. How about fandom? There's nothing to click on, so I may have picked the worst one. It seems like feeding is a bit of a mystery. I can't be the only one who's confused about what this. I thought it was going to be about eating stuff. Well, here's what I know. Here's carryover gold, diversion, feeding, functional helper, Lua. I don't know. Harm unit, find path, end level. How about kill? There's a kill recursion preventer. And then we have WML action kill. And then if the child config filter, if the child has some filter, the tag filter may not be used in kill. We get the number kill, we'll set the number killed to 0. We'll get some secondary unit. I don't know if the string here is meant to be like a name, or we're finding something that's called a secondary unit in the config. We'll set the killer location to 0, 0. If there's a secondary unit, then we're going to find it on maps. I guess the secondary unit might mean you have like a dog buddy or something, like a companion object. If the config is a fire event, and there's a secondary unit, we'll set the killer location to the essentially the X and Y coordinates, it looks like. And otherwise we'll warn, fail to match secondary unit in kill with single onboard unit. And then we'll set dead men walking to finding on maps the config. And then for CFG, I guess the config is config is the stuff that you pass into the kill function. So you might kill, I guess, multiple people at once. And we are going to iterate over them, set their hit points to 0. We'll set the death location to where they are currently, I think. We'll set the killer location. If not secondary unit, if they are not a secondary unit, I guess, or they don't have one, then the killer location is set to the death location. And that's a little bit unexpected to me because I thought that the killer would be the location of the killer, and the death location I thought was the location of the person who died. But I'm not there's something I don't understand there. We'll set can fire to false. And then we'll call kill recursion preventer, passing in the death location X and Y. And if there's a fire event, maybe this means that kill was initiated by like firing an object, or a fire in the sense of like a conflagration, a burning. I'm not sure. Then we'll call kill recursion preventer, insert the death stuff, passing in the result of the recursion here, and can fire set to true. Maybe can fire means the event can fire. Isn't send? I don't know. And then we're checking some stuff with death location. And if it fails, we'll say we tried to fire die or last breath event. Yeah, so fire means you can send the event. On unit, from the unit's die or last breath event with first time only equals no. Okay, I don't know. This looks hacky. This looks like a big hack with the recursion stuff. I'm not really sure what can go wrong there. They're worried about unbounded recursion, I guess, with dying. But I don't, off the top of my head, know how that would easily go wrong. And if we can fire the event, then we're going to fire last breath, passing in the death location and the killer location, and then we might animate it with whatever scroll to hex is. Oh, I guess if there's a big map, we might scroll to where they've died so that we can see it. And then we're going to create an animator object, and we're going to show the attack, and so on and so forth. And then increment the number of killed. So I guess it's doing the scrolling and the animation, I guess, for everyone who's killed if you pass in. What is happening is pen testing. We are not pen testing. We're just looking at the Battle of Wesnoth code. And I guess that's really all. I want to try to keep these at an hour. I've been going over, and the last few have been pretty long. But that's a little bit of the Battle of Wesnoth. Looks cool. The code looks well designed. I wouldn't want to maintain my own pre-processed configuration language, but I like the idea of having it be declarative. It seems like it's much nicer to program in that if you're willing to maintain the additional language. I don't know if they have the ability to switch to something that's less homegrown, and they may not even want to. But that might be that might make it easier for other people outside the code base to hack on it if that's something they're interested in. But it's a cool project. I've never played. Maybe I'll play it to check it out now that I've seen the code. And it's always fun to see how games are made. And that's all for now. I'll see you folks next week. Thanks for tuning in. This is Ants Are Everywhere.